Halloween. You know, at our house as we grew up, Halloween wasn't anything special except that usually there appeared, I suppose Dad bought it, a sack of peanut butter candy, little balls of it wrapped about 50% in black and 50% in orange, Halloween colors. And we appreciated that. We didn't get many sweets. And as the years went by, that wasn't one of my favorite candies. But boy, listen, it was an appreciated candy. That was a nice thing about Halloween, was that candy. As we got a little older and moved up to Kansas, we, or at least I, became very aware that some older kids and young men, I suppose there might be some girls involved, played some really pretty wild jokes, stunts on Halloween. We'd go to school after Halloween, and almost every year there was a flat part of, I think, the front of the gym where the entry was. Can't really just remember how that all was, but there was a flat part above a one-story section of the buildings that after Halloween you'd see anything up there from a drill to a spring tooth, some pretty fair-sized pieces of equipment. I never did know if they chose things that they could disassemble and hoist the pieces up and then reassemble up there. I don't know how it was done, but it's pretty impressive to a young kid to look up there and see a piece of good-sized machinery sitting up there. And we never were around when they took it down, so didn't know anything, but did know that, some people do some kind of wild, crazy things as part of Halloween. Never really heard of anybody doing destructive things during that time of our lives, unless you consider destructive that somebody's implement was up there and maybe damaged some way and being taken up or taken down. Well, the morning after Halloween in Coates was a real eye-opener. Don and I were just dumbfounded. People said, you need to go uptown. You need to go look at Main Street. Well, it wasn't very far away to Main Street, and you go over there, and holy cow, small town. I don't know if it was more than a block that was blocked, but they had brought in combines, tractors, drills, plows. They had literally jammed at least a main block of the town, had completely filled that with implements. And I'm sure it didn't make people happy, because if there'd been a fire, been bad. Couldn't have gotten in there with the fire trucks. But it was an eye-opener and an eye-catcher, to say the least. Well, then somebody said, you better go on over and look at the school. So we go over and look at the school. 2 or 3 outhouses on the front lawn. Windows all soaked up. Mr. Wagaman's up there, and he's not happy. And I thought that was kind of a crude thing to do. And I decided right then and there, by golly, if I'm ever the superintendent of the schools on Halloween night, I'm going to be up at the school. May not have the lights on, but I'm going to be watching what's going on. And if people do things like bring up outhouses, I'm going to know who it was, make myself a little note. And they're going to have a little job of taking the outhouse out. Boy, you should have seen that down at Hardin the first year I did that. Oh, we can't do that. We've got to go to football practice or basketball practice, whatever it was. You can go to that after. Right after school, you get that off of here. And if the kids were writing on the windows, I'd just walk up in the dark, rap on the window, oh my Lord, they'd take off like you were shooting at them. Because that's a little kid trick to write on the windows. At least was there. Halloween. Halloween is a special time for a lot of kids because of trick and treat. But back in that day, I don't think we had ever heard of trick and treat. Of course, our kids were still very little. Maybe there was tricking and treating going on, but I don't remember it. Boy, I will tell you, over the years later, including with our granddaughter Tiffany here, we took her around this neighborhood many a time when she was little. Trick or treat. And then a lot of the people have done some real decorating. I remember one time the neighbor next door had a hangman's noose, and boy, the next year she didn't want to be there that night, and she didn't want to go back there the next night. Same way across the street, the lady had spider webs, and she had it fixed where something was moving around up there in those spider webs. They weren't real spider webs, but gossamer stuff. So the tricking and treating. Oh, and the other thing, at Alamosa and in Denver, by golly, it seemed almost a sure thing that when you were taking the kids around on trick and treat, snow, cold. Remember one time one of the littlest ones, probably Rhonda, had her little bag with candies in it, and she was dragging it in the snow, and it got wet, and all her candies disappeared. Was she ever a sad little girl? Of course, we saw to it the others shared. Wasn't any big thing. My favorite Halloween story, funny story, I suppose everybody's heard it over and over. Two Indian boys that heard about people pulling pranks, so they decided to pull a prank at home. And their outhouse was kind of on the cliff just up above the river, so they went up after dark and they pushed the outhouse over, and it fell down to the edge of the river, in the water a little bit. Boy, the next morning, Dad had those boys lined up, and he was not happy. Who did it? Well, they said, Dad, we'll be like George Washington when he cut the cherry tree down. He admitted that he did it, and we'll admit that we did it. It was just fun. Boy, he started beating the tar out of him. They said, Dad, George Washington's dad didn't beat up on him for cutting the cherry tree down. Yeah, boys, but he wasn't in the tree when they chopped the cherry tree down.